What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock, what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down the projection for Tesla share price for the next upcoming week and some very important levels you have to be watching out for. I'm going to break down a big update that came out involving AI Day and also some massive tweets from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Elon Musk, as he did mention something very important about headlines for Tesla and also something very important about the Fed, which is going to be huge for Tesla and the overall market. Now, before I break anything down about Elon Musk, what he thinks about the Fed, and some very big things coming out, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any of these 12 free stocks could be a free Tesla share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 7 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at Tesla, this thing is down about 4.59% for the day, a little bit red in the after hours as well. And it did end up actually dropping below the level I thought it would hold, showing even more weakness than expected. Now, what's very interesting though is I mentioned to everyone that if 280 didn't hold, then we have some support at 275. And if that didn't hold, then we have 272 and finally 268 as very key support zones. Now, we did end up coming down to that 272 range, kind of holding it, getting a small bounce at the end of the day. But what's interesting is when you look at SPY, it's quite clear the SPY's balance was actually a lot stronger than that of Tesla's. So now Tesla's showing some signs of weakness, which is not the best of signs. Now, for the market, we are pretty oversold. So during situations like this, a small bounce is actually expected. So we should see a slight bounce for maybe a day or two for next week. But besides that, it doesn't necessarily put us in the clear because more downside does seem imminent, especially considering that the SPY came very close to the lows for the year. The SPY's low for the year was like that 362 level, I believe, or the very low 360s. We actually bounced off 363, so we came super close to it, which is not the best of signs for the markets, especially for our sentiment and the fear and greed index. Now, as far as the data goes, when we look at Tesla, check this out right here. We could see that there is this high correlation between Tesla and SPY because the whole market is almost moving in unison. If you look at like futures, if you look at the QQQ, the Nasdaqs, and SPY and the S&P 500, we're all moving in a very similar pattern because we're moving based off what the Fed is doing, based off announcements. And right now, we didn't actually see Jerome Powell speak today. He didn't actually say anything too important. But one thing the market doesn't like is the fact that the Fed has actually come out to be more hawkish, and they have raised their overall rates to about 4.3% or around there. So the market is just very nervous about that, very apprehensive, and we're starting to price in a lot of that now because the markets are very future looking. Now, what's interesting is both of them are coming down, but Tesla is starting to show a little bit more weakness than SPY, at least over the last 2 days. The price pairs ratio is starting to respect an uptrend, and it actually got higher over the last couple of days. Now, this is an indication that Tesla is dropping harder than SPY, and we are seeing more signs of its negative beta. I'm sorry, its positive beta that's above 2.0, which is not necessarily that good because now that SPY is coming down, it does look like Tesla has some more potential to actually drop as well. Now, despite this, many big banks like Deutsche Bank are still giving Tesla buy ratings, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm super bullish as well, and even buying Tesla in these ranges will pay off over the long term. But what else is very interesting is I think down here you could see we're seeing a lot more shorting going on in Tesla, a big spike in the shorts volume. So overall, the shorts are starting to pile in. They're trying to really start hammering these stocks, and sometimes they actually did get these fake outs in the market, but they are starting to show some potential, at least for the time being. So what does this mean for Tesla going forward? Well, when I look at SPY, the SPY got a nice bounce. The key support would have been around that 362.5 range. I think I need to adjust this. 362.5 around there. We actually bounced a little bit above that, but it is likely that we could come down and retest this zone. Now, it's very likely lots of buyers could step in right over here to avoid us immediately breaking below previous support zones, which is the support of the SPY, which means that if the SPY gets the bullish volume, especially near the end of the day, we got somewhat of a push. If we get a slight reversal for Monday, if SPY breaks above 370, will likely fill this gap and push all the way back to 374, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying this is going to last forever because more downside could come after that. So we could actually break to new lows after that, but a slight bounce is completely normal. From Tesla's end, Tesla is showing a lot more weakness than SPY. But if SPY does get a big push up, the market is running in unison. So Tesla will have the potential to actually come back to this zone right here, into this like 290 zone right here. It's very possible for Tesla to actually do this as well. But after that, it is possible for Tesla to come down again. So on the daily, what I don't like about Tesla is the fact that we had this trend, this big trend line that we've been respecting for quite a bit of time. I also drew out the other trend line. I think it's a little bit hard to see. Maybe it's easier to see it that way. So overall, we broke below this, which is not the best of signs. It's a sign of weakness. If we do fill the gap above here, we could push up a little bit more and this kind of be like a fake out. And if we do make a lower high, then this would be a sign that Tesla could end up breaking a little bit lower as we approach the end of September, maybe fill this gap. Now, I know we have a big event, which is AI Day, but right now the market is prioritizing the Fed, the economy, inflation, things like that. So even these big events, they may not be as potent, or they may not have as much of an effect as typically. And that's the reason why. That's the reason why the market is just so different right now. I know people are not used to this. However, it doesn't change anything about Tesla because once the fundamentals really kick in into the market, once we start seeing things, move based off fundamentals, Tesla is going to take off like crazy. And this may start over the next couple of months. Now, when it comes to some big news I wanted to talk about is this right here. A big article came out that states that Tesla plans thousands of humanoid robots within factories. Once again, absolutely impressive. I can't wait to see what prototype they come up with. This is going to be very amazing for the future, and I'm super, super bullish long term. I mean, there are lots of memes now coming out about this, and I really think that it's a brilliant move by Elon Musk because it could actually improve the output of their factories. And on top of that, it could save people from doing very dangerous jobs. And the big thing is the robots themselves are going to be like assets for the company. Because imagine this technology. Elon Musk mentioned that the robots could be used and maybe given as gifts to elderly people, and it could really help them in their day to day lives. So these could be worth tons of money, very lucrative for Tesla to get their hands in this. And I can't wait for what AI Day ends up showing us. Now, as I mentioned in previous videos, the market has cycles, and the market has a tendency of following cycles. Additionally, the market has a tendency of also following historical data, and it tends to not be exactly the same, but it tends to rhyme. With that said, when you look at midterm elections, all right, I keep showing you guys this chart because this is what historical data suggests. We tend to get a big drop in September for the markets. And so far, what is the market doing? We're following this trend. As we approach October, the market tends to kind of like capitulate in a way, but I can't really call it true capitulation. It's more like we consolidate, we kind of regroup and trade sideways for some time. We start to gain a lot more support. And then later on, well into like October, like maybe a week or two in, we start to push to the upside approaching those midterms. That's the cycle. This is what typically happens during almost every midterm election. And this is what we're starting to see right now. So what could be the big game changer for Tesla is maybe after AI Day, Tesla does see some improvements in the share price, maybe after like their earnings and things like that. It maybe, so that could be pretty good as well. But until then, we have to be prepared for other things to come. Now, what else is very interesting is we're seeing a lot of headlines coming out today. I mentioned some of this yesterday, but the big thing is we're seeing these headlines saying Tesla recalls more than 1 million cars for Windows safety software update. Unfortunately, guys, this is a very, very big misleading article, and we're seeing this all over the place. Once you understand the context, it's going to make a lot of sense. So I really want to clarify this. Personally, Elon Musk said this. So other people were talking about this yesterday, how there are all these headlines saying Tesla's recalling over 1 million vehicles, and Musk responded, the terminology is outdated and inaccurate. This is a tiny over-the-air software update. To the best of our knowledge, there have been no injuries. So the important thing to remember is the fact that these articles make money by getting clicks off Tesla. And they do this to spread FUD. Maybe some big institutions are behind it. They want Tesla's share price to go down, and they start shorting it very hard during moments like these. They also like to spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So remember, not everything on the internet is going to be true. Big titles are very misleading. And in fact, calling this like over the air tiny software update like a massive recall, it's not the same thing. The context is very, very different, just as Elon Musk is saying. Now, Musk said something else that's absolutely massive for the markets and Tesla, and he responded to something Kathy Wood said a little bit later. So let's actually talk about this. Elon Musk mentioned a couple of weeks ago a major Fed rate hike risks deflation. That's very important because deflation is not good for our economy. In fact, it's just as bad, if not worse, than high inflation because when deflation comes, it tends to be associated with high unemployment. And it's not the best for employment in America. It's going to hurt our growth overall because we do need inflation. We just don't need inflation to be high. We need a 2% rate of inflation every single year. And that's because it incentivizes people to spend a lot more money and it promotes more growth. It really helps businesses and spending and things like that. So Kathy Wood responds and she says deflation in the pipeline, heading for the PPI, CPI, PCE deflator from post virus price peaks. So now she's talking about all these prices that are actually dropping. And Musk responded, exactly. This is neither subtle nor secret. So somebody asked Elon Musk, what should the Fed do? And Musk responded, drop 0.25%. So Musk is basically telling us that when it comes to Tesla and the markets, we are dropping because of the Fed. They're playing like the biggest role right now. When Jerome Powell speaks, things like that happen. So what this means is the Fed has been raising rates and they've been a lot more aggressive to really end this year. And that's something I really disagree with. I really believe that the Fed should have started to raise these rates a lot earlier. We could have avoided a lot of this damage. And on top of that, if they were more aggressive from the beginning, inflation may not be this bad right now. Now, that's arguable, but it is something that's worth noting because now that they're becoming more aggressive, the markets are taking big hits. And it tends to not be that good because we've been in this phase for a very long time. And that's the reason why it's very important to be real and honest when it comes to policies and things like that. So, anyways, what a lot of people like Kathy Wood and Elon Musk are now implying is the fact that the Fed may actually be a little bit too aggressive to the point where it could risk deflation. This means that inflation could start to drop to a point where we hit economic deflation, and the Fed may have to be in a position where they actually start to decrease the rates. So, Musk is implying that the Fed may be a little bit too aggressive because he's saying inflation might actually start to dip relatively soon. That's what Musk is trying to say. What does this mean for Tesla? Let's explain. In the future, if inflation starts to come down, the Fed may not have to be as aggressive. If that's the case, Tesla could start to push to the upside. But what if over the next couple of months, when we zoom out, what if inflation comes down to the point where we're almost seeing deflation? Well, if it comes down too fast or too much, the Fed may have to actually start quantitative easing. They start to pivot. This means that they switch their policy. They start to stimulate the economy a little bit more. Maybe they print a little bit more money. Maybe they start to lower rates, which causes interest rates to go down a bit. When they do this, it stimulates our economy, and this could actually cause the markets to rally. This means that if, for example, just for example, let's just say that the market, pushes up, inflation is starting to drop a lot for like the month of November, the markets rally, but then for December inflation is high, you know, inflation is kind of high, sorry, and Tesla and the market start to drop a bit. What could happen is the Fed could be aggressive again, keep rates high. Then all of a sudden, the markets are just like trading sideways. Then the Fed can make an announcement, hey, we're going to be lowering rates for this month. The market could rally, and we could actually know when it's going to do that. The market starts to push up and up and up and up. Then the Fed make an announcement. We're going to be raising the rate just a little bit. The market comes down a bit, right? Then the Fed makes another announcement. We're going to be lowering the rate again, and the market goes up because when rates go down, the market tends to perform a lot better. When rates go up, the market tends to not do as well. So when the Fed is like bouncing back and forth between being more hawkish, more dovish to really get this under control, that's a possibility. And if they do that, you may not really like the volatility, but what's good about this is we could know when Tesla's likely going to come down, when Tesla's likely going to start pushing up. And when the Fed starts announcing that, hey, we may start to lower rates for this month, this means that bigger pieces of news for Tesla can have a bigger impact on the share price. So if Tesla's quarterly earnings come out and they do very, very well, maybe if inflation was like too high during the time, typically Tesla's earnings would not affect it that much. But because the Fed reaches a point where, okay, inflation is not as bad of an issue, we're going to start lowering rates simultaneously. During that period, Tesla's earnings can now cause the share price to soar more. Tesla's making a big announcement can cause a big run in the share price, just like the old times. All right. And that's what happens when the Fed starts to pivot. That's what happens when the Fed is not as aggressive. So this shift in the Fed's policy, as Elon Musk is highlighting, could be huge for Tesla. This is when we could really start to see the share price take off. All right. And maybe they bounce back and forth between all of a sudden like raising the rates more, then they lower it, then raise it. I mean, that's very possible. That's okay though, because we could foresee what's going to happen. Like I mentioned, it's going to become a lot easier and a lot better. Instead of the Fed just being aggressive, 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 and we just crash, 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 there could be a big shift. And that's exactly what Elon Musk is telling us. That could be big for Tesla, big for the markets, big for SPY, big for the entire economy. All right. So I'm hoping that inflation does start to come down. Maybe we start to see the Fed make changes. If we can actually see inflation come down, we'll have to wait and see. Musk and Kathy Wood did bring up a good point, though. That's very possible. I can't really say if they're right or not. I can't say if Musk is truly correct for saying that the Fed should drop the rates by like 0.25%. It's too early to tell, but they could be right, guys. So this could be very big. Anyways, thank you all so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your day. Remain calm, cool, and collected. And I will see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon because the long term future is bright. And peace out.